Hey, Roxroy. Good morning. Rob Cesternino here. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Rob. How you doing?
Very good. Very excited to get the chance to talk to you this morning. Wish it was under better circumstances. That would love to, get to chat with you a little bit about the game today. Um, we had that really emotional second tribal council, and it's not very often that I ask a guest on the show about the tribal council where they weren't even the person voted out about the first. But can you just talk a little bit about what it was like for you to watch that second tribal council play out, where really the impetus for everything that happened was Drea seeing you sitting in the jury?
Um, my emotion at the time was kind of like stoked because I kind of was still absorbing the fact that now I'm sitting on this side. Drea walks in. She's the first person to walk in. She looks over. She sees myself. She sees Chanel, two brown people sitting there, and her head just went completely down. Um, it was pouring rain. It was pouring rain at the moment, and I think that was a lot to be said about because it kind of like cleansed me a little bit. I think it just for me emotionally having that rain just being poured on me and listening and seeing Drea's reaction. And I think one of the things that was not developed a lot in this season was her and I just our bond, our alliance was not really talked about, which is great because we kind of had an understanding like you're good, I'm good, we're good. Um, but I think her seeing me there, she was like, "What the," you know. But the conversation and just the question that Jeff asked Drea based on her reaction, um, I just kind of wanted just to be numb to that moment. And the reason why I say it like that is because that was her personal past, everything coming through. You could see it, and she knew that. And I think that I speak. I don't want to put words in Drea's mouth at all, but I think her reaction was like, I don't want to be a third brown person sitting there.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm playing the advantage that I have tonight because I'm staying, regardless of what. And rewatching it, knowing that I lived in that moment, is it was to me, but I completely understood why her and Marianne on a different level, I think, than can be expressed. I understood why her and Marianne decided to say, "Hey, I'm staying tonight."
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for talking all that through. I wanted to talk about how close you and Drea were in the game because we saw it in the first episode, and it seemed like that it was even like a three-person alliance with you and Romeo based on what we saw in the first couple of episodes. But then it seemed like that we didn't get to see too much of that, and it seemed like that at points that Drea and Romeo got closer together, but then at the merge, it seemed like that Drea vouched for you, but we didn't see a lot of you two strategizing. So just how close was that relationship for you at that point in the game where you ultimately went out?
I think that Dre and I had a silent understanding of each other. She knew that I was working in the best interest of just eat like in the beginning of Ika. I think it was shown. I think the first episode when I reflected and I said to Drea, "Am I coming on too strong? Do I need to tone it down?" She was like, "Tone it down a little bit, Rob."
Yeah.
And we kind of made a really incredible bond that we didn't need to talk or express to each other how we were going to defend each other. We didn't need to do it. That was it. It was like from jump, she knew that I would give my all. I knew she would give her all. Her and I were just from jump, good to go. with Romeo and myself and Drea, I thought that our alliance was rock solid. This is the thing. But when I got back from being on, I guess, whatever, away for the last 2.5 days, Drea said, and I don't think it was shown, but Drea comes up to me real quick and says, Romeo's freaking out. Romeo is, I don't know what's going on with him. You know, he's not the same as when he was on Nika. And I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't know what to think, didn't know how to react to it, because I just got thrown into fire, not knowing what conversation, what was going on when I was gone. So for her to say that to me was kind of like, whoa, at first. And then I kind of saw like all the stuff that was happening, like conversations that were happening. And I'm like, why don't we just stay eco strong? Like, what's happening?
So,
people alive.
Roxroy, so that's very interesting. That I wanted to know, like, how does that figure into? We saw you last night talking about, okay, well, what about an alliance with the guys? Now, which one were you more loyal to, the potential alliance with the guys, or potentially doing Ika Strong?
What they didn't show last night when I said let's be in alliance with the guys, said, but we also have to have Drea with us.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike goes, yeah, Drea's that's great, Ross. Like, I think even Jonathan was like, yeah, that's great. Because I said, because the alliance with the guys would be myself, Romeo, and Drea at the time. That's 3 Ika right there, because I already had that alliance. I said, as long as Drea is with us, I'm good. I wanted to make a move kind of coming out of not knowing what was happening, and my social game was sometimes. But I wanted to make a little bit of like move where I would just put into at least the 2 guys there, which was Mike and gosh, sorry, and why am I having a blank right now? So I wanted to make a move with the guys for them to understand that, put it in their head, Rox is not a threat. He's looking out for my best interests. Let's not put his name on the chopping block right away. And that was what Jonathan and Mike was what I wanted to like put into their heads. Keep me around for a little bit. Let's see what happens. We know he's gonna have our back. Let's just go. Let's see how far this takes us.
Did you get any sort of signal that Hai or Omer were not really feeling the idea to work with the guys from your conversations with them?
I think I got a feeling with Hai when we were that night. We went back. Hai won immunity, and his behavior was kind of like, more than I just want immunity. It was like I kind of had a feeling about everything a little bit. But speaking with Mike's from Jersey. I grew up in New York. You know, it's like I felt as if I said to Mike, look, if I give you my word on something, it's solid, bro. If you get in a fight, you know I'm right there to jump in. And we kind of had that conversation. So I felt very confident, even though a little bit of in my head, I was like, we have a plan, but it seems as if I couldn't read Omar. I couldn't. And I'll admit to that. I couldn't. Dude played him. I was like, okay. But I couldn't read him. But with Mike, I felt confident enough with Mike that I was like, oh, if Mike's still on board with me and with the plan, then I should feel safe. Just let it go, Rox.
Roxroy, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Tori? We saw that there was certainly some friction on the show, but was that your experience living out there?
No, I mean, I'm from New York. I grew up in New York City, big city. Tori grew up in Oklahoma, country girl. No, like, yes, how we related was sometimes kind of like oil and water. But I had really no conflict kind of with Tori. Tori was trying to understand my gameplay. And I know it was difficult a little bit because my gameplay was provide, stay around. They need me, stay around. She didn't understand. She couldn't understand. But you're not playing a social game, Rox. What's going on? Why aren't you bonded? No, I wanted to be relevant and needed. That my name was not going to be would not come up, not written down. I needed to be needed, Tori. She was more like in the social aspect of everything, and I was like, I'm still going to get some firewood. Mm-hmm. But really quickly, I was always very impressed with Tori. Her effort that she gave in all the challenges with Ika, her individual effort that she gave to win 2 individual challenges, wonderful.
Yeah. Roxroy, at the merge, a lot of people were hoping that you could explain. You voted for Lindsay, Lynze. And some people were wondering, wait, was Roxroy voting for Lydia? Why cast the only vote for Lindsay? What was going on there?
One of the things that they didn't show is my conversation with Lindsay when we were drew the rock before I went off to the island. And I realized, I said, holy cow, this woman could play. She could play. Lydia, I could not vote for because Lydia and I went on that journey, and I thought I gave her an opportunity to actually get an advantage because I felt I didn't need it. I had a great alliance. I felt like I had a really good alliance, a strong alliance. I'm the kind of person that I stick to my convictions, so I said, no, I would not vote for her. Who else am I going to vote? They were all going that way. I wanted to make it known that Lindsay was a player. I wanted her name written down because just a little of awareness that she's balling. She could ball. Okay. So that's the reason why I did it. No mistake, no nothing like that. I did that on my own accord, just like, hey, look out for this person.
Roxroy, you had a great episode when you went out to Exile Island. It was great to get so much of your backstory there. Did you consider at all not breaking the hourglass, or it was a no-brainer for you?
No, I did consider not breaking it. And surprisingly, I'm shocked that people say, oh, well, obviously you should break it. But I did consider not breaking it. I personally think that not everyone should get a trophy. When you win, you win. Okay? Compete, get it done. And I thought about it. I said, it wasn't the individuals that basically were on both sides. I just said, we won. Now I have to compete. And will it show to the others that I'm all about you win? But I also believe in redemption. Like, I've gotten a lot of do-overs in my life. Maybe not always warranted, but I have. So I felt also, that's why I sat there and I said, Drea, Romeo, alliance. But then there's a Tori factor. And the reason I said there's a Tori factor wasn't because I anything about Tori, anything like that. I was like, if I make this decision, okay, I may potentially be hurting her as well, and putting her position in the game in jeopardy for our alliance as Ika. But I really, really, really thought a lot about not breaking it. I went with breaking it because of the fact that, again, redemption. Yeah. And I felt, because I didn't know Mike, I didn't know Omar, I didn't know Chanel. I had no advantage for me there.
Sure.
So, but I did break it, and hindsight, maybe I should have listened to the little voice. I don't know.
All right, Roxroy, real quick, I know you got to run. How much redemption did you need when you talked about being on Exile Island and how nice it was with no nagging wife on Exile Island?
Oh, I got in trouble.
Yes, but you got a second shot, right?
No. I got in trouble.
Okay.
That's as much as I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're out of the doghouse now, Roxroy. From one old head to another, it was very nice to watch you play this season. Hope we can chat some more in the future, Roxroy.
Thank you so very much, Rob. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Take care. Have a great day. Bye.
You too.
Hey, Tori, what's going on? Rob, Cesternino, how are you doing?
I'm very excited to talk to you. And I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Okay, good. I'm very excited to talk to you too as well. Of course, you were part of a really monumental tribal council in the episode last night. I'm interested to know, going into that tribal council, we saw a lot of what was going on back at camp. What were you expecting to have happen if everything went according to plan?
Yeah, I was fully expecting for Drea to get blindsided with the idol in her pocket. I'd maybe get a vote thrown my way, but I was going to be safe, and Cockroach was going to live another day.
Yeah. Well, I really did feel like that, had you made it through, I had said all week, like, had you made it through that split tribal council vote, I did feel like that you were, I think, probably people weren't going to worry about you for a while.
Yeah, that was my plan. Like, I know in Survivor, like, yeah, I was a target at, every tribal I was going to, but if you can just make it through, eventually, like, other targets are going to emerge and people are going to want numbers. And so I was trying to advertise myself the entire time as like, you want to make a plan, you want to make a move, you want to build your resume, use me to do it. Just like, use me. And so that's what I was hoping. And I think that would have happened had I continued to make it through. The bigger majority alliance would have wanted to cannibalize themselves, and I'd be there to help.
So, Tori, if your group went to the first tribal council and Drea doesn't see Roxroy sitting on the jury, do you feel like that the blind side would have been successful? Or do you feel like that Drea sort of like had been suspicious the whole day?
So, what ifs are challenging. I could lose sleep over them. I made so many mistakes, so many regrets, so many things that if it was slightly different, I might have lived to see another day. And I do think that is one of them. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but I do think had we gone to tribal council first, I think I would have still been in the game.
Now, I know we only get to see like a small snippet of a conversation, which I'm sure went on quite some time and a lot of different things were covered. But I felt like that the thing that like didn't come through was that, at some point, Marianne starts saying, well, I'm not going to write Drea's name down. Does Drea ever get to the realization that it's not just that she's playing her idol, because she doesn't want there to be any chance, that there is a very real chance that the Taku tribe members and you are coming to vote her out? Does she get there in that conversation?
So I will say the part that didn't get shown, which for me was the most terrifying moment of that tribal, like for my own game, was Drea. At first, I could tell she was like a little weary, like, I might play my idol if I need to. And you see me lie to her, try to convince her, oh, you don't need to if you want to. I support that. My vote's not changing, though. Clearly, still lying to her, thinking it was still very much game at that point. But what really turned, and when she was like, no, I am playing my idol, is she started catching more on of like that it might have really been a possibility. And she turns to Lindsay, and Lindsay just like nods her head. She's like, as in like, it was going to be you. And at that point, things really shifted from my perspective. And it was, I was tanked at that point, but I was okay with it because I saw that I'm going to step aside. Like if I go home that night, it's just my Survivor dream that's coming to an end, which still sucks. Like it's a huge dream of mine. But I understood in that moment, if Marianne or Drea were to go home, it would be a lot deeper and more hurtful for them. And so I was okay. I've had peace this whole time about it, of just kind of giving them space, removing myself from that situation, not trying to cause any more chaos or strategize, but just being like, I want this moment to be a moment. I'll go calmly play my shot in the dark and see what happens.
Yeah. So did you have any feelings about that they did not have a vote? Would you have preferred if everybody got up and voted?
No, I didn't really care. To me, it is just a formality. And I did feel like it was more appropriate not to go through that formality due to what was happening in tribal. I did, when I played my shot in the dark, I went up and tried to write Lindsay's name down because I'm like, haha, suckers is the only vote. She's going home. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that formality was needed. And I remember like this didn't necessarily get shown, but I did kept referring to like, I felt very uncomfortable in that moment because it was such a real moment. And it felt uncomfortable for me to have to save my game. The only way was to like interject and like strategize, try to fight, manipulate. And I just didn't want to do that. And so I think taking all the formalities, even the strategy out of it, and just having it just come down to my shot in the dark, making it or not in terms of who goes home, it felt more appropriate and respectful.
Yeah, at the end of that conversation, and I know that, you know, it's very hard to glean this from watching the television product, you know, did it seem like that conversation, you know, that there was like some healing that went on in that conversation by the end of it, or did you feel like that, oh, okay, I'm walking out of here, but things still seem very tense?
I mean, the word healing I hesitate to use because like that's such a it's a big wound and it's something big that
I just mean like on a more positive tone.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do agree. It did leave on a more positive note. And I think you saw a really sweet moment of like Drea and Jonathan like kind of hugging or like leaning against each other. So I think that's powerful in the sense that like, yes, it was uncomfortable for people. It was like vulnerable and sensitive for people, but we could talk about it, allow people to express their thoughts, whether it was like wise for people to say things or not, or whatever. They were able to have that conversation, and as opposed to just like shutting people down. And like me as a therapist, I saw that no one knew I was a therapist at that point. Like I never told anyone, but I saw that moment as like, oh my goodness, like healing needs to be done here. Like this doesn't feel comfortable doing it in the confines of a game, but just like giving space and not invalidating people. Because I think just because you don't understand someone's point of view doesn't give you the right to invalidate them. And that's what I just tried to do.
I want to go back to the events prior to the tribal council. We saw last week that you had observed Drea had found that idol in the paint, and you had asked her about like, hey, what's that on your arm? And she said, oh, no, I was painting the flag. But you noticed that there was nothing going on with the tribe flag. We saw you talk to Marianne about that. Did you have any other conversations with that? And did any of those conversations go anywhere?
No conversations I had really ever went anywhere. Let's be honest here. But I did talk with that about to Marianne. I might have mentioned it to Omer and Romeo, like the only people giving me the time of day. But what I kind of wanted with that was to like kind of keep it in my arsenal for when it needed. And so that was something I was trying to share in last night's vote, like going into it was like, hey, Drea has a lot of stuff we don't even know about. Like, why would we want to keep all these unknowns and advantages that we even know she has in the game? So I was trying to use that, which that part never really got shown. But yeah, I was trying to then like convince Jonathan and Lindsay that it's unstrategic to keep this much power in the game that we don't even know all that it is.
It seemed like that you had been developing a relationship with Marianne. Can you talk a little bit about how close you and Marianne had become after the merge?
Absolutely. So Marianne's the first like fun I kind of had on Survivor. Like everything was fun because I was on Survivor, but like on Ika, we didn't have fun. We didn't go to the beach. We sat at our shelter and gathered wood. Like that's not fun. And no one wanted to strategize with me, so I wasn't having fun that way. But with Marianne, she's so herself. Like we're both nerdy and weird. We talked about so many vines, like we connected on our faith. And she was kind of one of the only people who was like willing to get to know me, which like meant a lot to me. And so, yeah, we developed like we would always be like, oh, the bottoms never looked so cute, and call ourselves like island besties. And like now I consider her like a soul sister. Like she means so much to me.
Now, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Roxroy, who I just got done speaking with, and it's very interesting that you two had been connected all season and then ultimately go out in the same episode. What was it like for you, playing with Roxroy over this time?
Yeah. It was frustrating to play with him. I've never seen a character like him where, someone's coming to them like, hey, here's a secret. I want to work with you. And there's like, nope. I'm going to throw you under the bus instead, and just like not wanting to give me any information. And, I just misunderstood Roxroy. I thought he was talking down to me. I thought he was being condescending. But when I understood that, no, he's a stay-at-home dad, so he is more comfortable speaking to his children. Like that's just normal for him. So now like Rox and I, we have a great relationship. I think the world of him. I think he's so awesome. I know like people want to probably be like, oh, they still hate each other. Ponderosa was awful. No, I think he's awesome. We just never really got on the same page in the game. But there was strategy, at least from my end, on our like chaotic relationship. So I wanted to go into the merge with people thinking Ika was totally fractured. And like part of me did want to leave Ika, but I knew for my game, you need to keep options. I wanted my cake and eat it too. And so I wanted people to see us bickering so that people would tell Rox stuff that they wouldn't want me to know. But Rox was feeding me information. He was one of the only people feeding me information. So there was also a strategic component, like me blowing up on him after the hourglass. Like I'm not just that dumb.
Okay. So there was some intentionality on your part. When that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And like me sending rocks to the island, like I wanted someone from Ika to go because there was somewhat of an advantage. And like it did work for me because I ended up winning the immunity challenge thanks to him.
Yes.
But no, there was definitely, strategy in that too, which it might not come across that way, but it was there.
Okay, so you won those first 2 immunity challenges after the merge. Were you, hyper aware that maybe your life was on the line in the game had you not won them, or do you think that maybe you would have been able to finesse your way through a couple of those votes?
So I definitely felt I was on the bottom. If I'm being totally honest, it was like 80% I need to win this or I'm going home. But when I watch back, it's like 100% if I lost, I was going home. So I didn't realize that because I didn't want to believe that just based off of like one person's opinion of me, I was completely tarnished in everyone's eyes. And that's honestly what happened. So no one was willing to give me a chance. And so I had to fight for my life. And that's why it all happened that way.
In the second immunity challenge that you won, I noticed that you were, holding the sticks in a different way than all the other contestants. Was that something that you had researched before you went on to the show about how to play that challenge?
Yeah, you could say like I'm an overthinker, over-prepared because I wanted to come into Survivor and have any advantage that I could. So yeah, I know like I was not going to lose that challenge because my ball was going to drop. It was only if I would have fallen because I know the way, if you hold it that way, you're most secure. And so like, people would even try to say like I got lucky on those challenges, but I also knew like with the first one where you had to balance the immunity, like I had done marching band for years, so I know how to like move my lower body and stay very straight and like upright with my upper body. And so like I just had strategy going into those challenges too, to where like I just knew I could do it. Like I did. I kind of knew I could do it.
Tori, how did you react to so many people thinking that you had found the third Beware advantage all through the season?
Well, it's like, oh, like, sure, give me fake credit, but y'all, like, I didn't. So it was kind of like, even my mom was convinced, at all these amazing things I would do. And I was like, no, like she was convinced I was going to win the immunity challenge last night. She's like, oh, I can't wait to watch you win it. And I was like, I don't. So it's almost like a little embarrassing because it's like, I didn't do as good as you guys are thinking I did. So that's a little hard to swallow. Would have been great, but.
Yeah, a lot of people were very convinced. Okay, Tori's got to find that third Beware advantage, the potato idol. It's out there. Can you just give us a sense of anything about your story or your time on the show that you feel like that the viewers didn't get a chance to see?
Yeah, I actually feel like there was a lot. Like, I'm not just this sassy, bratty girl who rolls her eyes all the time. I'm really not. Like a big portion of my game out there was faith. And I know a lot of people are like, does God even have a place in Survivor? Like, does he care who wins Survivor or about the game? Maybe he doesn't, but I do know God cares about me and he knows like the desires of my heart, and it was to play Survivor. And so that's me. Like my faith was a huge part. That was also a connection piece I had with a lot of people post-merge, connecting on our faith. And then also like there was a big journey that I was going on with like body image and like how I saw myself, because I'm a therapist for women with eating disorders, and like I've had my own journey and struggles. And so I wanted to go to Survivor, and your body, like the way it looks, is the least interesting thing about you playing Survivor. And instead, like you realize what all you're capable of and like what your body can do. And so I like that, to me, was like a huge experience and really shaped like how I view myself and how I view my body. It's like, I don't even care what my body looks like. If my body can get me through that stuff, help me win 2 individual immunity challenges, like survive on nothing and still like be able to think clearly, like, that's great. So there's a lot more of that hopefully I'll get to talk about.
Okay. Well, Tori, thank you for coming through and talking about all this stuff. Covered a lot of ground, so I always appreciate that. And all the best to you outside the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Very nice to talk to you, Tori. Take care. Bye.
Bye.